Alrighty, so apologies that these reviews of the quarterfinal matchup of the Leeds Cup is a little bit late because I just got back about an hour ago from ground hopping and I started to put the notes down on the board. But that being said, in terms of these quarterfinal matchup, well, it was kind of a variety of results. We saw some games that were not close whatsoever. We saw a game that had a dramatic last minute winner to propel a team to the semifinal. And then we saw a meltdown that happened in this game, and we'll definitely talk about the meltdown that happened at the Rose Bowl on this game, and actually talk about this game last. But we start off with the blowout games because pretty much the top part of the board are two games that were not close whatsoever, and I am kind of glad the fact that everybody was focusing on this game and not this game because yeah, in a Minnesota United perspective, yeah, this was bad. I mean, that's putting it lightly because I think you gotta say that the one thing you can summarize this game between Minnesota and Nashville is the red card. I mean, the red card absolutely changed this game up, and it's kind of interesting the fact that this is the third time in the last 5 games that Minnesota has had a red card in the game, and the last 2 times they did relatively well. I mean, in the game against Puebla, they were able to score 3 more against Puebla, and then in the game against Toluca in the last one, they went down to 10 men. They did give up the penalty, but after that, they looked relatively well. So I thought when the Loons were down to 10 men again, I thought, well, it looks like they can hold fort, right? No, they absolutely collapsed after that. So early on, the first shot of the game did see Rosales puts it high from long range, and Nashville, of course, have most of the possession as Minnesota was elected to sit back and counter, which that was a big question coming into this game because with both of these teams playing very similar style, we just wonder who exactly is going to be the team that is going to play their specific style. And this is also why I thought, I can understand why a lot of people say that Nashville was the underdog coming into this one because, Minnesota has been very good this season on the road. And the reason why they've been very good on the road is because that style that they play fits a road team much better. But in the fourth minute, Mule did hit one right to Dane Sinclair. The whistle seems to be swallowed in this one. I mean, there were definitely some challenges that I thought, yeah, it should have been a foul, but it was not called. It seems like the referee was just letting those players play their game. Reynoso then puts it high from the free kick, and then things started to become a bit tight. I mean, there was a bit of a battle in the midfield and become a bit of a stalemate. And again, if you did only watch like the last 60 minutes, you would not realize that this game was relatively close up to the red card that happened. The shots were 4-2 through 30 minutes. I think it was in favor of Minnesota. Mukhtar then missed wide despite being wide open in the 31st minute. Yeah, Hani Mukhtar, he's been on a cold streak a little bit, and I think this game will definitely help him get his confidence back. And also, that came off of a terrible turnover from Reynoso, of all players. I mean, I will say about Reynoso this season, he hasn't been making those boneheaded turnovers that I've seen him made in previous season. But yeah, that one, he got away with one there. And if Mukhtar wasn't confident, that would have been 1-0 in favor of Nashville. But instead, in the 35th minute, a red card happened as DJ Taylor gets a red card for denial of goal score opportunity. Yeah, I think in the end that was the right call. I mean, I know some Loons fans feel that probably isn't, but yeah, I think in the end that was the right call. So yeah, the Loons were down to 10 men once again. Mukhtar would puts it high from the free kick, following the denial of goal score opportunity was committed by DJ Taylor. And then in the 39th minute, Shaq Bourne would score from Mukhtar to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville. I mean, that was kind of an accidental back heel from Mukhtar. I don't think he actually meant to do so, but somehow it falls to Shaq Moore there. And yeah, Nashville was leading 1-0. Reynoso then hits one right to Panico as Minnesota looked to respond, but instead, in the 44th minute, Bunbury would score to make it 2-0 in favor of Nashville. There was a lot of ball watching from those Minnesota defense. I mean, it's also not only ball watching, but the inability to clear their lines. Like they just kept that ball in the Nashville box. They couldn't clear their lines there, and when you don't clear your lines, yeah, eventually you're gonna get score on, and that was the case. So yeah, that was 2-0 in favor of Nashville. It didn't get better in the second half because this is when I thought, yeah, this game is over. I mean, up to this one, I thought the game was all over. And again, if I wasn't actually doing a review for you guys on this channel, I probably would have turned the game off at halftime. And I actually kind of really stopped paying attention to this game as soon as it really got out of hand. But in the second half, Mule would make it 3-0 for Mukhtar to make it 3-0 in favor of Nashville. Keep in mind, this game was on the same time. This game actually kicked off a little bit later, which I'll explain why. So that's why when games are just kind of way out of hand, I kind of feel like, yeah, there's really no point kind of keeping track of this one. And also, it doesn't help this game kind of got out of hand, too. So I really focus a lot on this game, which is why I wrote a lot of notes on this one and also wrote a lot of notes on this game, too, because this was the only game that was going on uh, in that night. But then in the 53rd minute, Sam Surridge would score for the second consecutive game from Schaffelberg to make it 4-0 in favor of Nashville. The Loons were looking down and out. I mean, it feels like they were already looking forward to the next regular season game against NYCFC on the road. Pookie then missed wide from close range, and then in the 60th minute, Hani Mukhtar would score for the first time in the last 10 games. He scored here from McCarty to make it 5-0 in favor of Nashville, and after that, it was just a complete line change for Minnesota. I mean, you can clearly see they waved the white flag, and it's the right call too, because there's really no need for Adrian Heath to decide to put his starters here. I mean, this game was clearly all a lost cause, and that the last thing you want is to have some injuries to this team heading into that stretch run to try to make it to the playoffs. Mukhtar trying to make it six, but he fires it high from long range. It's kind of a bit of garbage time. I mean, after 5-0, it feels like Nashville kind of pull the gas pedal off, and that they just kind of cruise their way to a 5-0 victory against Minnesota. The shots in this one: 20 shots committed, 9 that the Loons had, 3 shots on goal to the 7 that Nashville has, 5 shots off target for the 7 that Nashville has, 1 shot on the block for the 6 that Nashville has, and possession wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that Minnesota has. And as much as I want to say that, Minnesota has definitely defied my expectation in this tournament, I didn't think they would have gone as deep as the quarterfinal. If you would have told me in this tournament, or even after when they had that collapse against Chicago. But that being said, this game does leave a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and that I'm just hoping that this resort won't actually carry over into the league for him. And the one thing I am a little concerned with this team is the fact that the defense has been really bad in the last couple of games. I mean, they have conceded 10 goals in the last 3 games. I mean, the midfield and defense have been non-existent, and while the attack has been great, the defense has been bad, and that's kind of the psycho of Minnesota United. It's either their offense is good, their defense suck, or their defense is good, but their offense can't do anything. And also, I would like to say that this feels like it's very similar to last year, where in the beginning of the season they can't score, and by the end of the season they started to scoring again, but then their defense kind of got bad because the DePassy went down with an injury, and now it seems like it's the same thing again. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. I'm really hoping they can fix that as we get into leagues play, because again, this team, unlike last season where they at least had a cushion, they do not have a cushion this time. They cannot afford to collapse in September like what we saw last season, or else they will indeed miss the playoffs. But for Nashville, it's a good result. I think this was probably one of the best games that Nashville has played, and I gotta say, Nashville, they're one of these teams that I'm pretty sure their fans didn't expect the fact that they were going to go this deep into the tournament, especially the form that they were in coming in. So we'll see whether or not that they can carry that. If they eventually do either get eliminated in the next round or in the final, or even win the whole thing, which I'm pretty sure the Leeds Cup tournament organizer and MLS is. I know they want an MLS team to win, but they probably hope that it's not Nashville, the one that wins. You know who they want to win this tournament? Inter Miami. So again, I know it feels like it's been beating a dead horse to talk about all about Inter Miami eventually going to win the tournament, and I can understand the haters have saying that they got a very easy road, which is why their next matchup in the semifinal will really test to see whether or not if they're indeed for real. Because in this game against Charlotte, I mean, yeah, it was kind of proven the fact that as much as I don't want to say that the last game between Charlotte and Houston was just kind of a glorified game to find out who's going to get their ass kicked by Inter Miami, it kind of to turn out it was the case. I mean, Charlotte, they got the reward of getting a come from behind win against Houston. Maybe got very fortunate from that come from behind result, and their reward is getting their ass absolutely kicked by Inter Miami in this one. In the first half, Yedlin would head it wide from the corner before a penalty was given to Miami as Affo brought down Aurora in the box, which Martinez steps up to take the penalty. and he slots it home to make it 1-0 in favor of Charlotte. Well, I thought Charlotte started to grow into this game, and Miami, I thought they actually defended well in this one. That's been kind of one of the issue for Miami we saw in the last two games where they haven't really been defending very well, especially in the game against Orlando City. But I thought they defended did well in this one, and also in the game against Dallas too. They did not defend well whatsoever in that game against Dallas. But in the 30th minute, Kalina did deny Messi from close range, and then in the 33rd minute, Robert Taylor, who has been just red hot right now, in probably the best form of his life, he scored from Yetland to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami. And the first shot for Charlotte didn't came until the 45th minute. It sees Scott Arfield miss it wide from close range, but we do head to halftime with Miami leading 2-0, and you can say this game is pretty much a wrap, right? Well, not much happened in the start of the second half, which I thought that was kind of the case with Miami just in cruise control right now. They look like they were just going to cruise their way to a 2-0 victory. Though Shvedetsky did post it wide from long range, and then Ajiman hits it wide from close range. I'll tell you what, this Ajiman kid, he's definitely make his case. Maybe even get himself more minutes. I mean, I know he's been mostly coming off the bench for Shvedetsky and stuff like that, but I have been very impressed with this kid in this tournament, and he was kind of a difference maker at least when he came on, really pulling that Miami backline because of his pace and his physicality. And I also wrote Miami's got to be careful because again, it's a 2-0 thing resort. I mean, the old saying, 2-0 leads are always the most dangerous lead, and if Charlotte gets one back, the momentum looks like it changes. Well, it turns out they probably read that message because they're gonna make it 3-0 in the 78th minute, and it's an own goal by Malanda here. I mean, it's just one of those unfortunate ones there that give Inter Miami a 3-0 lead. Campana looked to make it number 4, but he hits it right to Kalina. But in the 87th minute, it was 4-0 in favor of Inter Miami. And it's not an Inter Miami game or a Leeds Cup game without Messi scoring. I mean, those fans, they probably were restless to finally see Messi score, and they finally get a chance to saw him score. As in the 87 minutes, he scored from Campana to make it 4-0 in favor of Inter Miami. And yeah, that was the final score of this game. Shots in this one, 9 shots apiece for both of these teams. 7 shots on goal for the 2 that Charlotte has. No shots that was off target for the 4 that Charlotte has. 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Charlotte has. And possession-wise, 38% possession compared to the 62% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. And like I said, I know Inter Miami has got a very easy role, and that's been kind of the biggest criticism of them. I think the next game is going to really test them in the semifinal, and I think the semifinal will really be a test to see whether they do have enough to make it all the way to final and fulfill what Don Gabbard and also the Leeds Cup tournament organizer are hoping that eventually they get. Because why you want Inter Miami getting eliminated when that's basically the big rating point? I mean, even in this 4-0 beatdown, I'm pretty sure the rating for this game beats every single game that we saw in the quarterfinal. But that being said, as I mentioned, with Inter Miami winnings, they would either face the winner of the Union and Queretaro, and in the end, it's the Philadelphia Union that is able to beat Queretaro as Queretaro Cinderella story turn midnight. Though I will say this, compared to the first matchup, this was a lot closer. And I'll tell you what, Queretaro, they really push the Union and have them all they can handle. And it turns out the difference in this one, believe it or not, came once again like a red card, just what we saw in this game between Nashville and Minnesota. It also looks like the youth and the kids is all right with Philly in this Leeds Cup tournament too. Now, early on in the first half, so remember how I said this game was supposed to be the first one to start? It turns out that looks like we had a power outage that was going on, which I think that just it doesn't get more Leeds Cup like that. You talk about all the crazy delays that we've been getting so far and the crazy things. I think that is literally another one you can add in the bingo chart, and that I'm pretty sure every part of the bingo chart would be filled up right now of some of the wackiest thing we've seen in this Leeds Cup tournament. So yeah, because of that, the kickoff was delayed an hour. It was supposed to schedule at 8:09. Now it's kicked off at 9:09 p.m. So I was expecting, yeah, we're gonna have some Leeds Cup after dark kind of craziness in this one, and boy, did we had some too. But as expected early on, the Union had a lot of possession. Querétaro was clearly sitting in the low block, and that's kind of what they do. That's the thing that I was worried about the Union coming into this game. They haven't really been doing very well on the attacking front the last 2 games, and now to play down this very resilient Querétaro low block. I was kind of concerned that the Union wasn't able to do so. Though that being said, Carranza did heads it right to Tapia, and then in the 11th minute, Jesus Breno reached the defense as he scored here to make it 1-0 in favor of the Union. Carranza then was in on goal there, but he struck the post. Yeah, Carranza has really had a rough tournament. So far he's been kind of snake bitten in these last couple of games. And then we had some coming together because again, anytime when there's an MLS and Liga MX matchup, there's going to be a coming together, and the guy that's probably going to be in the center of attention is Jose Martinez because he's like a villain, basically he loves to play that role, and he was basically having some choice words with Barrera. He definitely did not appreciate what Barrera was saying to him. And I'll tell you what, if there is one guy you do not want to get into a heated exchange, it's probably Jose Martinez. But the Union continues to have most of the possession, but Queretaro, again, they're doing a very good job limiting the chances. It's almost like they're trying to get this halftime 1-0 because, hey, even though you've been outplaying in this game in terms of possession, as long as you limit those chances that the Union has and keep this one at 1-0, who knows? Maybe things go your way in the second half, the bounce go your way, and next thing you know, you find yourself tie up at one apiece. And that's exactly what happened. Because in the second half, despite not much happened in the beginning of the second half, in the 65th minute, Teto equalized. It's Seba Vina. He scored from Gomez to tie the game up at one apiece. By the way, he scored the winning goal against Pumas in the same stadium that Teto is playing in right now. So yeah, almost like the stars were kind of lying that he was gonna do something magical again. And that was also the first shot of the second half too. So yeah, again, it was a kind of a boring start of the second half, but definitely changed everything. Now it seems like Cheto has the confidence again, and maybe the clock hasn't struck midnight of the Cinderella story from this Liga MX side. But in the 71st minute, Bizo would elbow Sierra in the neck. No foul or yellow has been called. Now, I think this is definitely going to use as fuel in terms of Liga MX and also their fans about refereeing decision going in favor of MLS team because yeah, I do think that Bizo got away with one there. Though again, if you want to kind of play the reversal role or kind of play the devil advocates role, depending how you look. Maybe MLS fans will basically fire back say, well, in the CONCACAF Champions League, we saw this happen all the time, and those Liga MX teams don't get the benefit. So I feel like it's kind of the old saying, what goes around turns around, and it feels like it's about time MLS team gets the benefit of something that probably should have been a red card, but they get away with it because CONCACAF and Leagues Cup reason. Though again, the Union fans they weren't having any of it, and at least they didn't feel like that was what happened because they proceeded to boo Sierra for his theatrics. I mean, I do think that Sierra kind of sold it a little bit, but again, it was pretty clear on the replay. You can see Bizo, his elbow was very high there to connect Sierra's neck, and yeah, on a normal game, I think that definitely could have been worthy of a red card, but nope. In this one, it seems like the referee and VAR decided to look the other way. But I also thought that the Union again proceed or actually, I also thought the other thing is that Jim Kern he decided to take a huge gamble. So he decided to trust his youngster. He brought in a lot of his youngster into this game, and the front three in Gazdag, Uru, and Carranza was all subbed out. Actually, Gazdag never played in this one, but all three of the big three for the Union up front they were all not involved in the last 10 minutes. And again, it's a huge gamble from Jim Kern because, as much as I know these youngsters for the Unions has been resilient, again, if they don't pull this one off, and especially when we get to the PK shootout where, these youngsters, they don't have a lot of experience in terms of that, yeah, things can get a little bit tricky and maybe this can backfire. And we have seen before where Jim Kern decided to make a bold decision and it backfired him big time. But in the 82nd minute, Tapia did deny Sullivan from close range, and then Wagner would blast it high from long range. Glesnes would also do the same on the free kick. And I thought the Union looked good. I mean, they even with the youngster in, it feels like it injected a new life into this team. They were pressing for the winning goal. It was announced 10 minutes of stoppage time in this one, which the Querétaro manager and the head coach he was in disbelief. Like he couldn't believe there was 10 minutes of stoppage time, and I don't blame him. That was kind of excessive in terms of being 10 minutes. I mean, yes, there were some time wasting that was going on, but 10 minutes, really? I mean, no wonder why this is going to be used as another fuel for Liga MX's team being frustrated with some of the refereeing decision and feels like the referee are clearly favored an MLS team. But in the 5th minute stoppage time, Martinez would blast it wide, and then in the 7th minute stoppage time, Mendoza would get his second yellow card. So the Union were up a man for the last 3 minutes of stoppage time. You're thinking, well, that doesn't really make a big difference, right? Oh, you were wrong, because in the 8th minute of stoppage time, Wagner had a free kick that actually struck the wall and struck the post there. I think Elliott was actually close by in terms of tapping that one in, but he couldn't quite do so. But then in the 11th minute of stoppage time, literally the last kick of the game, Chris Donovan would score from Wagner to make it 2-1 in favor of the Union. And also, this goal definitely will not please Liga MX fans. Not only the fact that another Liga MX team is going to get eliminated, but they feel like there should have been an offside call. And honestly, I think in the end, when you look at this play, if this was in the Premier League, I think this one would have been chopped off, because you know how in the Premier League there's these lines that they drawn and it just gets very wacky, and I for me, in my opinion, I don't like how they do it in the Premier League. I think they kind of overthink things and overcomplicate it with all the lines and stuff like that, and I know a lot of fans in the Premier League hates that too because of how much they overcomplicate things, and I do like how more of how MLS is doing, just kind of keep it simplified and look at the based on the angle, and the angle that they showed. I gotta say, I can't see how that is being overturned. I mean, I think that is just, it feels like he was just even with Wagner when that ball was played in. And remember, just because you're in front of the last defender, it doesn't matter. It depends on where the ball is played. If you're just behind the ball, or if you're even with the ball, it's not going to be called offside. And on that play, I feel like he was even, and that I think it would have been incredibly harsh to overturn it. So yeah, I think in the end they got it right, even though Liga MX fans is going to protest again about another robbery that they think of a call that goes in favor of an MLS team. But nevertheless, it feels like those Queretaro players probably felt the same thing, because yeah, that's when the full time whistle was blown, bad blood happened. So both of these teams kind of clashed with each other. The boiling point was reached at an all time high, and this was not a big surprise. I mean, after that, you knew that this is gonna boil all over. You know, Queretaro is gonna be absolutely fuming about this decision that goes against them, and they just took out on those Union players. But in the end, it doesn't matter. The Union will just say, "Look at the scoreboard and look at how we're able now advance to the next round." While Queretaro say goodbye to their Leeds Cup chance. As in the end, the Union won 2-1 in this one. The shots in this one are really heavily in favor of the Union. 20 shots committed, just 4 that Queretaro has. 6 shots on goal committed, 2 that Queretaro has. 1 shots off target committed, 8 that the Union has. 6 shots on block committed, 1 that Queretaro has. And possession-wise, this has to be wrong. There is no way in the world Queretaro had more possession than the Philadelphia Union. Like, throughout the game, the Union pretty much dominate possession. So, again, I truly do not believe the league websites say it's 56% possession compared to just 44 that the Union has had. But yeah, again, the Union, it wasn't pretty, but that's kind of the philosophy for Jim Curran in this knockout round. I mean, all their knockout round has been pretty ugly, and that they're able to just squeeze by to the next round. But that's what you need to do in terms of knockout round. Nobody said that you need to play some of the prettiest soccer to advance to the next round. It's all about survive and move on into the next round. And this is where I go back to what I said about Inter Miami playing against the Philadelphia Union, and nevertheless on the road too. Although you could argue that nowadays Inter Miami games on the road aren't really road games for them, because there's going to be a lot of Messi fans invading Subaru Park in that matchup. But nevertheless, that is going to be a really interesting battle. Again, the Union is a very good team when they're playing at home. They know how to win scrappy, and that, yeah, I can't wait to see how that's gonna end up. And there should be some interesting storyline with either Inter Miami and Messi carrying this team to the final, for the fact that the Union that are clearly looking for revenge. Again, they know the feeling of getting knocked out in games so close of winning the trophy. It feels like this team and Jim Curtin, he is on a mission of making sure that doesn't happen for the third time in the last year or so. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match. So with Querétaro being eliminated, it seems like it is all down to Monterrey and Rayados. I mean, they are pretty much the last hope of Liga MX, and for a while, it didn't look good. It looked like Liga MX was clearly on life support. It looked like they were not going to be involved in the semifinal matchup. And then Rayados remember that, yeah, they are Rayados for a reason, and why I do truly think that this is a team that could actually be the representation of a Liga MX team in the final of the Leeds Cup. And I know after this win they still have to play Nashville, and I'm not trying to disrespect Nashville, but just looking how Monterrey has played so far in this tournament and in this game, even without their best player in Betterami and all the key players, they still able to pull off a come from behind victory. Though again, it was a combination of that and LAFC completely imploded in this game, similar to what a so-called Minnesota versus Seattle game happened a couple of years ago. And that's all I'll go. I'll leave it there because yeah, that brings I don't know why I mentioned that game as a Minnesota United fan, but anyway, in the first half, they only won part of the stands in this one, which again, it kind of feels weird. I mean, I get it. Yes, you're not gonna fill up that 90,000 seat stadium, but it feels kind of a little bit amateur with the way that they only open one part of the stands, and the one part of the stand wasn't even filled at all. I mean, they announced the attendance was like 15,000 fans, which yeah, I mean, I get it. Yes, it's at the Rose Bowl. Yes, it's hard to get by, but really, 15,000 fans attending this one? Yeah, I feel like that was very underwhelming. Though what was not underwhelming is a penalty, giving in the first minute. In fact, 15 seconds into this game, Medina would ball down Bawanga in the box, and Bawanga says thank you very much. He steps up to take the penalty, and he makes no mistake. So yeah, LAFC they were up 1-0. And as much as I said it was a great start for them, they got to be worried that this is not over because we've seen the story before. Remember when Seattle went up 2-0 against Monterrey and looked like they were on verge of getting a big victory or actually win 3-0 to really throw chaos in the group stage. Yeah, that did not happen, and LAFC's got to worry about that too because this is a Rayados team that has the ability to come back, and they started to dominate possession, but the shots were only 2-0 in favor of LAFC for the first 20 minutes. There was a shout for a penalty for Rayados not given. Canales would then puts it wide from close range, but then in the 42nd minute, Bogusz would score from Bawanga to make it 2-0 in favor of LAFC. It was off of a lightning counter attack that with the finish kind of matched that great lightning counter attack. I mean, this is a team that I think for LAFC they've been really good on the transition as we've seen in the last couple of games, and yeah, they made it 2-0 in this one, and I am being wrote. Feels like Liga MX is on life support because I'm pretty sure every Liga MX team minus Tigres fans are rooting for Monterrey to win this one because this would be kind of embarrassing if they don't even have a representation in the semifinal of the Leeds Cup, and it feels like they were on the brink of getting eliminated. And in the 43rd minute, Buke had a shot that was blocked by his own teammate Gonzalez, but fortunately Gonzalez did have a second crack of it, but he struck the post. And I gotta say, LAFC, not only the fact that, as I'll talk about in a bit, how they completely imploded, they could have put this game away way earlier. They missed some big opportunity, and this is I mean, there's gonna be a lot of big opportunity that they're gonna look back. This is definitely gonna be one of them, and this one is a painful one too because if Gonzalez didn't get in the way, I think Buke would have scored, and this would have been 3-0 in favor of LAFC. But instead, it was 2-0 in favor of LAFC heading into halftime. And in the second half, Aguirre did hit one that was actually spilled by McCarthy, but he was able to gather it on the second attempt. I thought Rayados was still starting to be on the front foot. I mean, it makes sense because they had to go. They have to push to try to get this one back, even though that kind of plays in the hands of LAFC, knowing they can hit them on the transition. In the 58th minute, Moreno would heads it right to McCarthy before Medina puts it wide from long range. And I will say that as much as Ryan was kind of playing the hands of LAFC, and I thought maybe this is where LAFC is going to get a chance on the transition. That didn't happen. I mean, I thought Rayados did a really good job in terms of when they do lose the ball, they immediately win it back high up the pitch. LAFC was just not able to go on the counter and not able to play that outlet ball to get out of their own half. And in other words, they were pretty much pinned deep in their own half. Though I also said that despite Monterrey having some chances, they were not showing their clinical finishing. That's kind of what Monterrey has been really good this term, and they have been very clinical in front of goal. To this point, they weren't do so. That was about to change though, because after McCarthy denied Medina from close range in the 69th minute. This is when the implosion began for LAFC. It started with a penalty given to Rayados after VAR deemed that Avia is brought down by Acosta. And yes, that was clearly a penalty. What's even crazier about this is that, because this game is at the Rose Bowl, apparently, I guess the Rose Bowl don't have that technology of using headset to contact the VAR room, because they literally, and I kid you not, they use a landline phone to basically contact VAR. I mean, I feel like with that, it just doesn't get more Leeds Cup after than that. I mean, I've seen some crazy things that has happened in this Leeds Cup. That one is probably the funniest. I would say. I kind of had to burst a bit of a laughter when I saw that the referee was contacting the landline phone. I mean, I can also say that that's probably going to be a way where I can't wait until Meme Monday does happen on the MLS Reddit page, and I can't wait until how many people is going to use that as a meme of the fact that, yeah, I think the referee's contacting on the landline, not really by VAR, but also probably by Liga MX's president to make sure, yeah, you do not make sure this is gonna be not called, especially of all kinds of crap that we've been dealing with, and referee decision that goes against our team. So yeah, the penalty was given. Canales steps up to take the penalty, and he slots it home, and that made it 2-1 in favor of Rayados. And when that went in, I just thought that LAFC may be in trouble, because we've seen this before. So we've seen this story about with Rayados able to come back, especially in the game against Seattle. It feels like they were gonna do so. Bogusz looked to respond, but he puts it wide. And as I mentioned, Rayados, they had all the possession. They were starting to really trying to break the dam of LAFC. LAFC was definitely on the ropes. Though that being said, LAFC did have their chances to finish too, to make it 3-1 again, as Andrade would deny Gonzalez from close, and then Bawanga had a shot that was clear off the line, and all of a sudden you just feel like Leeds Cup After Dark has really activated in this one. Keep in mind, this game didn't kick off until 8 o'clock. This game actually was pushed back half hour, because I think they had to have this game being the lone game, so that's why they had to push this back half hour and having this game finish late. But yeah, I mean, Leeds Cup After Dark was definitely in full effect. Chaos was definitely the name of the game. And then in the 79th minute, Palencia would score an own goal here. I mean, a very unfortunate own goal. I think it was one where it was a Rayados attacker trying to shoot, and then it kind of deflected off Palencia, and he puts it into his own net. But yeah, that ties the game up at two apiece. Andrade then denied Bawanga from close range, and then I mean, well, buckle up, boys and girls, because if you thought that this has been chaos, wait until you see the last 10 minutes of this one. Gary then had a shot that was deflected, and it goes wide. But then in the 88th minute, who else but Rengilio Funes Mori would score the what would be the winning goal in this one to make it 3-2. And just to make sure, they actually had to go back to the landline phone again to check the VAR to see whether or not if Funes Mori was on site, which the VAR says yep, yes, he was on side. Well, here I said it was he offside. VAR basically said nope. So as a result, the implosion has complete. But what I also didn't write on the board, and I kind of ran out of room, so I didn't write here on the board. Is the fact that they decided once again have 10 minutes of stoppage time in this one, because again, as much as Liga MX wants to make sure that they at least have one team made it to the semifinal. You know that these Leagues Cup tournament is not going to try to make this easy. They're going to have to try to still show their favorites of MLS team and try every ways to give LAFC chances to win this game. In fact, this game kind of went on even past the 10-minute mark. I mean, I can understand why, because by the time that VAR call is done, we already played like a minute or two into stoppage time. But despite the fact that the ref was trying every way to extend the game, trying to give LAFC a chance to get that third goal to send this to a PK shootout, and also, I'm pretty sure LAFC, if they had Gareth Bale, maybe they would have had a shot in terms of getting this third goal. But no, unfortunately, it didn't happen. As in the end, Rayados, they came from behind in this one to win 3-2 against LAFC. They keep Liga MX's hope and restore Mexico hope in terms of at least they have at least a team to root for heading into the semifinal. With a 3-2 win. The shots in this one: 20 shots for the 13 that LAFC had, 8 shots on goal for the 7 that LAFC had, 3 shots off target for the 4 that Riotos had, 8 shots that was blocked for the 3 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 70% possession compared to 30% possession that LAFC has in this game. And I gotta say, for LAFC, I think if it wasn't for that Gareth Bale moment where gave them the tying goal and they eventually went on to win the PK shield against the Union, I would say that this team could deserve a legacy of failure episode attached to their name, because so far, besides that MLS Cup win, there has just been so many choke jobs that LAFC has done, from this game, from the game we saw in the CCL final where they were heavy favorites against Leon and they dropped the ball, and then you saw the game against Tigres a couple years ago in the CCL final. I mean, there's just so much implosion that we've seen LAFC when it comes to big game, and this is also where they got that narrative before that they just simply can't do it in a big game. I mean, again, if it wasn't for that Gareth Bale moment, probably would have continued to talk about that narrative, because that's just kind of sums up LAFC time. They just cannot get it done except for that one year, which I think that's a good argument to still say, because I can't say that this team is a complete failure after you won the MLS Cup last season, but it just feel like it could be more. Like it could have been more. This game, just a flat out implosion that they had. I mean, I know Rayados did a good job in terms of coming back, but again, this is a Rayados team without their best player, and they still able to come back. And as much as they show a lot of character, it's just a flat out implosion that LAFC had, and this is something that he's going to stick with this team, and you just also hope that it doesn't stick with this team too long now that they have to get back to league play, because again, it's got to be frustrating if you're an LAFC fan, the fact that heading into this season there was a lot of expectation, things were going to be white, they're going to finally join Seattle of being the second team to win CCL, and then in this one they probably maybe even go all the way to win the Leeds Cup, especially from what we saw in the first couple of performances, and just to do this against Riotos, yeah, this is a tough pill to swallow if you're an LAFC fan. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at all these games. And like I said, in the semifinal, we were going to have Inter Miami and Philly and Monterrey and Nashville. And again, not to disrespect Nashville, but man, they got a they got a very tall task to face against Monterrey. I mean, yes, they look impressive against Minnesota, but I feel like that was a lot to. Well, it was a combination of Nashville kind of rediscover their good form in this game, and just Minnesota collapsing. You're not going to see that happen with Riotos, especially with the way that Riotos is going to get their best player back into the team against Nashville. So that I do think that this Monterey team, if there is a team that I think is going to represent the MXs, and I know there's only one remain, but if this, I said this in the beginning of the tournament, who's going to most likely be the team that could represent? I would say Monterey could be that team. I did say that I picked them to go very far into the tournament, only for them to get eliminated by FC Cincinnati. Though I would also like to say that in terms of my prediction that I made before, I predicted that Inter Miami was playing Philadelphia Union in the semifinal, I think. And guess what happened? That is exactly what happened. And I did pick the Union to win that one too. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, as much as I've been doing bad in terms of my prediction in one part of the bracket, at least the other side of the bracket looks pretty good. The fact that I thought that the Union was going to play Miami in the semifinal, and it seemed like that exactly is the case. I definitely did not expect Nashville to go this deep, but hey, give credit to Nashville, where it's due, and that there's a big chance that against Riotos, easily that's got to be the biggest game in their short club history against the giant of the Concacaf region that is Monterrey slash Riotos. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at these reviews. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.